Make sure y'all stay on point with
The Puncher's Point. What is good, y'all? Welcome to The Puncher's Point. Now, usually I introduce the fighters, I introduce the fight, all that type of stuff. But you know what? For today, and I don't usually do this a lot, I don't do this with any guest. But today, it seems right. I'm going to pass it on to a special guest. Take it over.
Hello, it's me again. I'm back. How y'all doing? Yes, y'all. May 2nd is up around the corner. And guess what we got? We got Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez. God, it feels good to be back. Man, good times, good times. But I'm welcome y'all back. I'm gonna pass it back over to Mara so he does the introduction, and we're gonna get right to it.
Appreciate it. All right, let's get straight into it. We're going to start off with Devin Haney. So here's the thing with Devin Haney. Obviously, if we're talking about what happened last time, we're talking about he had that fight with Ryan Garcia. Originally, it was a Ryan Garcia win. Ryan Garcia popped for PEDs. Long story short, turned into a no contest. So, with that being said, Devin Haney 31-0 according to the record books. I know a lot of fans don't like that record at all when it comes to Devin Haney. And it's been a year since he stepped foot into the ring, but now he's back. And funny enough, when we heard it was going to be him and Ryan Garcia on the same card, a lot of us were hoping that we were going to get that rematch. But instead, they're going to be on two separate fights. But we're here to talk about Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez. Now, at one point, Jose Ramirez was a top two, if not number one, 140-pounder in his division. It was him, Josh Taylor, and then the other guys that were following them, Jack Catterall, Regis Progress. How times have changed, because it seems like Jose Ramirez is the last one. And look, a big win for Jose Ramirez would do a lot right now, because his last fight he loses to Arnold Barboza. He had that loss to Josh Taylor, and ever since then, it just seems like he's lost a step. And obviously, this is a fight for Devin Haney to get back into the groove, and it's a fight that a lot of people expect Devin Haney to win. But the truth is, or the questions are, can Devin Haney possibly lose this fight? Could he possibly get put into a trap? Can he possibly underestimate Jose Ramirez and end up losing the fight? But you know what? We're going to answer that question all throughout the episode. Let's start off with Devin Haney's strengths. So I'm going to say this right now. When it comes to Devin Haney, for me, the first strength I would say is he has the most pure boxing form out of any boxer I've ever seen. I mean, Devin Haney has a pure boxing stance, and you could tell, like, he's a very, very polished fighter. Devin Haney is extremely polished as a boxer. The other thing I will say is he has a very good and a very impactful jab. Now, I know what y'all are going to say, well, that jab didn't work against Ryan Garcia. Well, you know what? Good job, Ryan Garcia, for exploiting that jab. However, regardless, if you look at all the other fights Devin Haney had, that jab was never a problem. That jab was always his bread and butter, and that jab always set up everything that Devin Haney did. So I'm going to stick to that as a strength. He does have a very good, impactful jab. He's sneaky to the body. I will say that, especially when opponents are trying to land some exchanges on him, he's very sneaky when it comes to the body. Even when he's throwing his 2-3 punch combinations, he's always finding a way to find that body. He's a very composed fighter. He's got a very good check left hook, and that check left hook is a punch that not many people ever talk about with Devin Haney. That check left hook is a big punch for him, kind of minimalizing opponents. And when opponents try to get into the groove, when they try to build momentum, even if you go and look at the fight with George Kambosos, that check left hook, it was keeping Kambosos at bay, and Kambosos really wasn't doing much once he got hit with that hook. So everybody can talk about how he doesn't have any power, but you know what? That hook had to be powerful enough to stop Kambosos. He has very, very good footwork. I really do like his right straight. To me, that kind of seems like the number one punch that he really does engage with is that straight right. And usually when it comes to Devin Haney and it comes to him using combinations and it comes to him pressuring, that right straight is always there for him. He's a very accurate counterpuncher. He's fantastic with spacing. I will say that right now. He's very, very good with spacing. When Devin Haney is controlling the pace and he's controlling the range in the fight, he is very, very good with spacing. Once he realizes that he can control the whole entire pace of the fight, he can control the spacing. It's really hard to stop him. great endurance. He can go rounds 1 to round 12. And last but not least, heart. You know, when he got knocked down 3 times by Ryan Garcia's devastating hooks, everybody's talking about how Ryan Garcia dropped him on his ass. But ain't nobody talk about how he got up after 3 knockdowns. And for all these people that are talking, you know, about how strong Ryan Garcia is and how dangerous his hooks are, and I'm not saying they ain't. But don't get me wrong, Ryan Garcia might have some of the best hooks in boxing. The fact that Devin Haney got up 3 times, continued that fight, and it was still a majority draw, I mean, let's give him credit somewhere. You know, I know a lot of people like to hate on Devin Haney, but let's give him some credit. And look, y'all can go on record. I'm not the biggest Devin Haney fan. I'm gonna say that right now before everybody thinks I'm just glazing him. But I mean, come on, the guy got up from 3 left hooks from Ryan Garcia. He got up and he continued to fight. Let's put heart on those strengths as well. Now, as far as the weaknesses with Devin Haney, what I will say is this: he doesn't do well when he's confined. When a fighter is able to close that space out on him and get him in those ropes and get him in the corner, when he's able to confine the space, when they're able to cut the ring on Devin Haney, he doesn't perform well because Devin Haney, he really does rely on that footwork. He really relies on head movement and bobbing and weaving. But when you close that space on him, it doesn't give him many chances to do that. A perfect example is the Lomachenko fight. I always say, if I'm looking at game plans, I think Lomachenko had the best game plan out of anybody for Devin Haney. I think Ryan Garcia had the best punch for Devin Haney. Put it that way. So for me, when I'm going and I'm looking at that fight with Lomachenko, when Lomachenko would come forward and push Devin Haney back, he would put him up against the corner or the ropes, and he would confine that space on him. Constant pressure, is what I will say. Constant pressure. If you find a way to pressure him to back him up to force him to think quick, I do believe that you can definitely stop Devin Haney. And overall, I mean, I'm definitely gonna pass the floor on to Breezy pretty soon. But here's the one strength that I noticed with the one weakness with Devin Haney that I noticed that I never noticed before. Opponents will hurt him if they start a combo off with a power shot. That's one I never picked up on. See, when you started off with a jab, and don't get me wrong, I do think you should use the jab against Devin Haney, but when you started off with a jab and you're trying to chain those punches together, you're giving Devin Haney more chances to counter. You're giving Devin Haney more chances to find openings. The more punches you throw, the more openings he will find. But if you're standing there and he's trying to test you and he's trying to test the range and he's trying to test when to kind of slip in and slip back out, if you hit him with a hook or you hit him with a straight right or whatever the case might be, if you hit him with anything but a jab and it hits him, then all of a sudden he goes into retreat mode. And for me, that is something that I think Jose Ramirez is really going to have to take advantage of. Instead of just constantly doing this and trying to test his range, I do believe you should throw the jab. But you know what? When he's really trying to find an opening on you, throw a hook, throw an uppercut, throw a power punch to force him to back up, to force him to retreat. So that ways you can actually get the pressure onto him, but on top of that, not give him too many looks and not give him too much time to find a counter for you. So for me, that's what I would say are the biggest keys, the biggest strengths and weaknesses, excuse me, for Devin Haney. But overall, what am I doing talking? We're going to pass it right on to the former co-host of the Puncher's Point. Breezy, give me a breakdown of Devin Haney.
As a very much Devin Haney-like fan, I'm going to be very unbiased with this breakdown. So let's get straight to it. With Devin Haney, like Mario said, he hit everything on the nail. Devin Haney is a pure boxer. You know, ever since he was a young kid, he's been getting compared to Floyd Mayweather, ever since he came up in the Floyd Mayweather gym. And funny enough, I kind of realized that his sequence of defense is kind of similar, not all the way like Floyd Mayweather, but the difference is when Floyd had defense, he was a bit quicker in his response to defense. As Devin Haney, he's quick on defense, but just not as quick as a Floyd Mayweather. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he does have good defense. Another thing Mario touched up on is his foot movement. You know, if you ever watch Devin Haney always has that foot poked out because he's always ready to keep that lead hand on, and he has that back foot because he's ready to jump out of any upcoming punches you have. And that's something I really liked about that Regis fight is the foot movement he used. When he used that pullback counter and he dropped Regis, I think anything, he doesn't get enough credit for his counter punching. I think people see guys like a Shakur and Tank, who both have great counter punching skills, but I think people tend to forget that Devin Haney is a counter puncher himself too. He's just more so relying on that front foot. He's more relying on that lead hand with the jab. But another thing too, he touched up on is the body shot. But Devin Haney has a nice way of going to the body. It's not like an in your way or Earl Spence where his head's completely in there. It's kind of like a quick little jab. It's like a quick little straight to the body. And if you're not watching out for it, Devin Haney can slip that in there at times. Devin Haney is one of the most pure boxers, between 135 all the way up to 140. If we look aside from the Ryan fight, every single fight he has, that jab has been a dominant factor to his wins. And I think for a guy like a Devin Haney, I think all he has to really do is just be the boxer. For him, it's not more so about getting the knockouts or having the most KOs or knocking your opponent down. It's his IQ, which he also has an underrated IQ. Now, of course, it's going to be that one person in the comment section. Where was that IQ when he fought Ryan? Look, I'm going to be real with y'all. And this is me heading on to the weakness. Although I do believe Ryan Garcia was on something in that fight, that doesn't take away from the fact that Devin Haney abandoned his game plan. I had a conversation with Mario about this, and Devin Haney has some kind of outlook of him trying to prove something as if he can hand in the pocket with certain fighters. I said this before because he tried that I forgot who it was, but he tried to get Linares. He tried to get in that pocket with Linares, and Linares caught him with a good one. At the end of the round, he kind of did like a little stanky leg, little shake thing. And he was saying that he wanted to put on the show for the fans. That's Devin Haney's biggest problem. Devin Haney has to stop trying to prove to the fans he's some power puncher or some knockout artist. Be you. So one thing I would say about weakness is he cannot be in that pocket. If you try to be in that, and look, I'm not saying the man is cheating, but you got to understand the fighters you're getting on there possesses more power than you do, and it just takes the right shot for you to get caught with. Like they say, the shots you don't see be the shots that affect you the most. A lot of the shots that Devin Haney get hit with is shots that he's not looking for or expecting. So the last thing he needs to do is be in that pocket. So I will say this: being in the pocket is a no-go right now for Devin Haney. Another thing too, is the pressure. Once Devin Haney gets pressurized, it kind of throws him off his game plan. It messes up his training of thought of what he wants to do next. The Lomachenko fight is one of the biggest examples. When Lomachenko started pulling the pressure to him, Devin Haney, he'll get on the back. He'll get up against the ropes. When he got in the ring with Ryan, what was the first thing when he got hit with a power punch? Devin Haney, first thing to do was to try to trade with him. If anybody know anything about Ryan, that's the last thing you want to do is to trade with somebody who has power, not just one hand, but both hands. So he has to understand, and me and Mario talked about this a lot. He has to understand in moments like that when you're in the pocket, or in moments like that when you're getting pressured, that's when you utilize your IQ. You can't try to out pressure these guys. You can't try to get out and try to get in the mix and bang with these guys. You have to be the slick boxer that you came up and trained to be. So as far as him being in the pocket, stay out of the pocket. As far as him doing with pressurized, I do think at times when he get pressurized, I feel like all he has to really do is prevent himself from getting on those ropes. Once Devin Haney gets on the rope and he's dealing with a guy who has fast hands, power, and can throw those at different angles, including the body, that's what can mess him up the most. He needs to stay off the ropes. He doesn't need to be in the pocket. And he doesn't need to be in any kind of corners or areas where if somebody was to throw a power punch at him, he has no way to move. You gotta understand, Devin Haney is a mover. He's a boxer. He's supposed to be the guy that moves on his feet and throws jabs and basically make you work. And if you're just there in front of Devin Haney throwing them punches and he has nowhere to go, then you can make it a real confusing fight for Devin Haney. And it can really throw his train of thought off. So I would just say for his strengths, jab, range, he has slick body shots that he throws, and he's real nice on his feet. But his weakness is he tries to get in the pocket and he tries to put on the show and he tries to trade with guys that he doesn't need to do. And the thing about it is too is that he has to try to work things around dealing with people who bring in accumulation pressure and massive over amount of punches. If he can get through that, then Devin Haney will be A-OK. That would be my breakdown for Devin the Dream Haney.
I'm glad you mentioned how he's not the type of guy to go and exchange with people because he's not an inside fighter. It's as simple as that. He can stand on the inside, he can counterpunch on the inside. That's all great and all, but he's not an inside fighter. And I mean, you hit it on the money. And I remember this too before the Ryan fight happened. You said, look, if he stays there and just tries to bang with Ryan in the pocket, he's going to get knocked out. And I kept saying, like, look, and I remember I said if Ryan Garcia won that fight, I'd be shocked. Like, I didn't think he had no chance to win that fight. And you were like, look, if he stays in the pocket with him and he bangs, he's going to lose.
I remember that press conference, and I remember the moment he was like, "Yeah, Ryan, I'm gonna get in the pocket with you." I was sitting there, I was like, no, you not. No, you not. I told Mario on the phone, I said he better not get in the pocket with no Ryan guards. Look, I am not trying to disrespect, but I'm sorry, that's just not smart. Why, if you are known for not being in the inside, you keeping your distance, jabbing the dude head off, being slick all night, basically playing peekaboo, you can't touch me. Why would you get in the pocket with a guy who's dropped almost, aside from Tank, almost every single person that's got in the pocket with him? And he has power in both of his hands. I'm sorry, like that. I'm not gonna lie. He got mentally played at that point because it's like, how you let him reel you into his game plan knowing you're not a fighter that it goes well in the inside with exchanges. And I told Mario the day of the fight earlier, I said if he does that, it's not going to look good. He does not need to be in the inside with Ryan Garcia. And we all saw what happened. Not to say Ryan didn't have the PEDs or it didn't have an effect, but still, he it's some parts that Haney can clean up on that will help him in this fight with Ramirez.
For sure. And I think Ramirez has very similar strengths to Ryan Garcia, just not as he's just not Ryan Garcia. See, the thing is with Jose Ramirez, if we were talking about young Jose Ramirez or the Jose Ramirez in his prime, the one that was holding belts in that 140-pound division where it was just him and Josh Taylor, that Jose Ramirez would have caused Devin Haney some trouble because that Jose Ramirez was not messing around with nobody. But the thing is, Jose Ramirez has lost a step. I'm going to go on and say I like Jose Ramirez. I really do. Jose Ramirez is a good fighter. He's lost a step. It's as simple as that. I do respect Jose Ramirez. 29-2. Never been knocked out before. He's got knocked down, obviously, twice by Josh Taylor in that epic fight that they had. But the truth is, Jose Ramirez is not Jose Ramirez no more. But there is still strengths that Jose Ramirez has that Devin Haney needs to watch out for. For example, Jose Ramirez, straight right. He has a very good straight right. I will say he has that Mexican style of fighting where it's aggression and it's pressure. So basically, when he's pushing the guy back and he's really able to, start throwing some exchanges, he throws exchanges as he's coming forward. That's always been his thing. But the truth is, when he was in his prime, he was so fast, he was so athletic, he was so good at pushing these guys back that they really never fought back when he ran into Josh Taylor, a guy who was I think a lot more polished than Jose Ramirez. And when he ran into Josh Taylor, and Josh Taylor knew how to control a ring, he knew how to counterpunch because everybody forgets about prime Josh Taylor too and how good he was. I'll never forget he leaned forward and Josh Taylor caught him with a left hook and he knocked him down. And that was that was one of the weaknesses that I had for Jose Ramirez is that he leans forward with his head. And when he does that, it's an easy counterpunch. And I'm saying you do that against Devin Haney. Devin Haney can get a knockdown in that. So, but overall, that Mexican style that he had, where he would just constantly move forward and he would constantly just push his opponents against the ropes, that's something that Devin Haney can't be caught in. Because, like I said, one of the weaknesses for Devin Haney is he gets pushed up against those ropes. And when he gets pushed up against those ropes, it's a problem because then he puts himself in a confined space and he really doesn't have the space or he doesn't really have the space or a very decent amount of you know what? I'm just going to break it down. He doesn't have enough space to even do anything. So when you confine it, that's what happens with Devin Haney. Body shots. I mean, Jose Ramirez has always been a body shot boxer. Even recently, like he knocked out Richard Comey with a body shot. He's always been a body shot guy. Jose Ramirez. So I'm gonna say that Devin Haney definitely needs to protect that body, and I have faith that Devin Haney will because he's always been defense first. Very good footwork. Jose Ramirez, he does have good footwork, and I think that's one of the most underrated things about him. It's not like even though he's not he is flat-footed, but he does have good footwork. He is able to kind of get in the pocket, bang, and then slip out, just like Devin Haney does. He's just not as swift as Devin Haney, I would say. Now, as far as the weaknesses with Jose Ramirez, besides him leaning his head forward, what I will say about Jose Ramirez is, like I said, he's lost a step. He leans his head forward, but not only that, I will say this: he will get hit with some left hooks, especially counter hooks. Any counter hook you can hit him with, that is going to be a big factor. And one of the strengths for Devin Haney is his check left hook. And Devin Haney's really going to have to throw that check left hook to stop Jose Ramirez from getting any momentum. The other thing about Jose Ramirez is the jab always finds home. And Devin Haney is very, very good when it comes to that jab. That jab is a very, very strong jab. Regardless of what people want to say, that jab is dangerous, and the truth is that Jose Ramirez can't afford to get hit with that because if he does, his face is going to look like Camboso's. His face is going to look like Regis Progress. You guys can say he doesn't have any power, but for 12 rounds, those jabs do a pretty decent amount of damage. The other thing about him, straights to the body, those end up hitting very well for Jose Ramirez because Jose Ramirez has kind of like a square stance. He's not, his shoulders never really turn towards you. His body's right there for the taking. So straights to the body definitely work. And like Breezy said, one quick straight to the body. He's not throwing them in combos. He's not throwing them like a lot of people. Devin Haney, one straight to the body, slip right out. And then last but not least, he doesn't use head movement as much as he used to. That's the one thing I've noticed too. And it's a testament to when you're getting older, you don't have the same skills that you did when you were in your prime. Because Jose Ramirez is not in his prime, he doesn't use that head movement anymore. You go back and look at that last fight with Arnold Barboza. He didn't use head movement. He was just catching all these punches on the gloves. And when Arnold Barboza realizes, well, he's not really using any head movement. I could probably throw some counters or combinations. I can show him some feints, get him to kind of open up. It was game over. It wasn't an exciting fight, but you know what? Arnold Barboza gave him a boxing lesson that night. And it's because Jose Ramirez is not Jose Ramirez no more. But overall, to me, that would be the strengths and weaknesses for Jose Ramirez. And Jose Ramirez is the least talked about fighter out of all six of these fighters that are fighting in Times Square. He was the least talked about. Everybody loves Rolly Romero and how funny he is. Teofimo Lopez is stealing the show every single time, or trying to steal the show. Ryan Garcia, he's been calm for the most part. Devin Haney, he's been calm for the most part. So when you really look at it, Jose Ramirez is the odd man out. Arnold Barboza has his little beef with Teofimo, so that's drawing attention. Jose Ramirez is the odd man out, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Jose Ramirez needs this win, or else we're gonna be talking about how Jose Ramirez don't got it no more. But overall, and that could be the most dangerous Jose Ramirez, the one that's gonna go in there and say, screw it, swinging for the fences. Devin Haney's gonna have to deal with that. But overall, I'm gonna pass it on to Breezy. Breezy, your strengths and weaknesses for Jose Ramirez.
Jose Ramirez. Man, when I did my film study on this guy, this man is like a bull. He charges in with punches. And when I say he's charging in with punches, he's looking to cut that ring off on you real early. And he's looking to wear you down. And it kind of goes back to what I've said in the previous episodes. That Mexican stand and bang, brawl it out with you. It's one of those styles. Like if you're not a counter puncher or you ain't got no kind of power, you're gonna have to have something else to bring with it. Cause those kind of fighters, they come in and they ready to take your head off. And if they can't take your head off, they're gonna break that body down. And that's the kind of fighter Jose Ramirez is. What Jose Ramirez is he's like I said, he's real vicious to the body, but them punches are real fast. Can you imagine Richard Comey taking them shots all in just within the split? And it's like when you see it, it's like he's throwing them so fast, and it's like if you're a pure boxer and you're not real good on the rope, this what makes this matchup so interesting between him and Haney. If you're not real good up on the ropes and you don't really have any kind of space, you're basically there taking about 5 or 8 punches all at once. And eventually, because he does have some kind of power, let me note too, he does have power. So taking all those punches and knowing he's throwing them in fast combinations like that, one of those punches can hurt you and possibly drop you. And I believe that's one of his biggest significance is his power. The fact that he able to have the speed to cut off the ring. He has the ability to push you up against that corner, throw those fast punches, and break you down in the body. But like you also said too, the head movement, him leaning in. What did I say? What did I tell y'all earlier about Devin Haney? Devin Haney has that pullback counter. He dropped Regis with it. Say what you want about Regis. He still dropped him. And like Mario said, Jose Ramirez has been on that back end of his career. What? I'm not saying this will happen, but just what if Jose Ramirez runs into Devin Haney, tries it, and Devin Haney steps back and counters him and drops him? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's a what if. You understand? He's leaning his head in. He's charging forward, and he's not using he's not using head movement anymore. So it's like if you do have your guard up, he can go to your body, sneak attack to your body. So you gotta protect your body, but at the same time, you gotta manage your guard up because if not, he can counter you. He can hit you with an uppercut. He can hit you with a jab, like Mario also said too. Look at those guys' faces after they get in the ring with Haney. Booty cheeks all up on their face, bruises up on their eyes, black eyes, and all that. I'm just saying, in a 12-round fight, and you got to be in there, and you charging at a guy like a Devin Haney who's going to use his footwork and jab and go to your body. He's going to need to have some kind of head movement. He's going to need some kind of defense. Because I've seen him take punches, and sometimes when he takes punches, he stays there and takes the punches consistently, which is bad for him and his health. I don't think for 1 minute that in this fight, Ramirez should be in the pocket real long. And I'm not saying he has to be worried about his power, but for the sake of the punches you can get caught with. I forgot to mention, Devin can throw a quick 1-2. We've seen him throw a quick 1-2. I don't know how much of Ramirez can hold up to a quick 1-2. So his strengths, like I said, quick to cut the ring off fast on his feet, powerful punches, break you down and cut the ring off on you. But his weaknesses, he leans his head in, he takes too many punches, and even when he does get hurt in the inside, he consistently tries to throw in the inside, even with the fact of him being hurt, which could lead to him getting dropped or knocked down. Case in point, Josh Taylor. So that would be my strengths and weaknesses for Mr. Jose Ramirez.
And so now we get to the keys to victory. So here's what I'm gonna do with the keys to victory. So I'm gonna give one key. I'm gonna give the most important key to victory I got for Devin Haney. We're gonna start off with Devin Haney. He's gonna give the biggest key to victory that he has for Devin Haney, and then at the end, and then I'm gonna give Breezy an extra one. So you know what? For me, the biggest key for Devin Haney in this fight, when I look at it, I think in order for Devin Haney to win this fight, I think that he's going to have to use check hooks to stop that momentum. To me, that is going to be the biggest key for Devin Haney. He's going to have to use those check hooks. He's going to have to give Jose Ramirez something to think about. He's going to have to make Jose Ramirez second think. And I think the best way to do that is when he comes forward, you use that check hook and you force Jose Ramirez to reset. To me, that is the biggest key for Devin Haney. Now I'm going to pass it on to Breezy. Breezy, give me 2 keys to victory for Devin Haney.
Basically, Devin needs to be the matador while Jose Ramirez be the bull. When he charges, you set that space apart. You jab. You don't go in the inside and try to exchange. Point 1, stay on the outside. Use your jab. 2, when he tries to close in, counterpunch. Counterpunch. I'm going to say it again. When he tries to close in, counterpunch. Counterpunch. When he closes in, counterpunch. Counterpunch.
It cannot be more clear than what Breezy just said. Now, as far as Jose Ramirez, what's he going to have to do to win this fight? So for me, the biggest key for Jose Ramirez, in order for him to win this fight, the biggest key is going to be, it's going to be this simple. You have to cut that ring on him. You have to. If you cannot cut that ring, Jose Ramirez is screwed. You are going to have to cut that ring on Devin Haney, and you are going to have to give him as little space as possible. If Jose Ramirez can do that, we're looking at an upset. but the question is, can he do it? And I'm gonna pass it on to Breezy. Breezy, give me 2 keys to victory besides the one I mentioned for Jose Ramirez.
Oh, go to that body, break him down, slow him down. If you can wear that body out, the rest will slow down. Go. I don't really see too many fighters going to Devin Haney body besides Lomachenko, which is another reason why that fight went the way it went. Go to his body. You have power. You have speed. Transition that speed all into one and go to that man's body. Two. When Devin Haney trying to throw that jab at you, you know what you do? Perfect time to counterpunch him. Because sometimes Devin Haney, like I said, he'll throw that 1-2. But can you be quick enough to count him in that 1-2? When we seen that Ryan fight, when Devin Haney tried to throw his shots up, what did Ryan do? He threw his quick one. So what I'm saying is catch him in between his punches. Go to his body, catch him in between his punches. If he tries to get up in that pocket with you, take that body out. Take that body out. And once that body get wore out, he get tired, and because eventually, if you do wear that body out, Devin Haney go down. And after that, then you can proceed into Mario's point, cut the ring off even more and corner him, and then you can just basically tee off, walk him down.
Now, with all that being said, it's time to make these people some money like we used to. So, betting odds. Devin Haney, the minus 1,200 favorite, while Jose Ramirez is the plus 680 underdog. Now, the most likely method to victory, you could guess it, would be Devin Haney by points or decision. The least likely method to victory, besides a draw, would be Jose Ramirez by decision, which I find very interesting. So here's what I'm going to say, okay? Do I think Jose Ramirez has a chance to win this fight? Absolutely. I believe if you have 2 hands, you have a chance to win this fight. Anything could happen in the sport of boxing. Here's what I will say. Are you willing to bet on Jose Ramirez, who's A, not in his prime no more, B, has lost a step, and C, out of all the weaknesses that we have talked about, they are tailor-made for somebody like Devin Haney. Are you willing to go and bet that? And honestly, if you just heard everything we said, the answer would be no. Now, here's the other question. Are you willing to bet that Devin Haney knocks down Jose Ramirez? If yes, then I'm going to be honest with you. Here's my prediction. I got Devin Haney by 10th round knockout. 10th round TKO, to say the least. I think he's going to really put a punishment on Jose Ramirez. I think what's going to happen, I hope that he doesn't have the same fight that Arnold Barboza did. I hope he looks 10 times better than Arnold Barboza did in that fight against Jose Ramirez. What I think is going to happen is, I think from round 1 all the way to round 10, Devin Haney's just going to put a George Kambosos beating on Jose Ramirez. And Jose Ramirez is tough. So you're not going to just, unless you knock him flat out, lights out, which I don't think Devin Haney is going to do, unless you knock him out and like completely shut him down, Jose Ramirez will get back up from the mat. So I think what's going to happen is he's going to put this punishment on Jose Ramirez, and people are going to start saying throw in the towel because it's getting ridiculous. And then what happens is, I think Jose Ramirez, I think his corner will throw in the towel, and I think it's going to be 10th round TKO for Devin Haney. I think this will be the end of Jose Ramirez. I don't know if he'll retire on the spot, but I think Jose Ramirez is really going to start contemplating retirement after this. Honestly, I don't see this fight being competitive at all. Now, if this was prime Jose Ramirez, I might go with the upset. I'm not gonna lie. If this was prime Jose Ramirez, I'm going with that upset. But this is this Jose Ramirez. He's not as quick as he used to be. He's not as fast as he used to be. He's lost a step, and you could tell in that fight against Arnold Barboza, he's not ready to fight certain fighters. And I think that if Arnold Barboza was gonna give him a lesson like he did, I think Devin Haney coming back after a year, maybe he'll have a little bit of ring rust, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Devin Haney's going to go into that ring. I think he's going to dominate him for 10 rounds, and I think you're going to see the towel being thrown around 10. So, in my opinion, I got Devin Haney by TKO.
Oh, he threw me off with that one. Okay. I think Devin Haney's going to put on a masterclass, dominating performance, and get a majority decision. TKO TKO? I don't know. I'm not all the way there yet to jump to that one, but I do think it's gonna be I do think it's gonna be far more worse than what he did to Kambosos. I do think it's gonna be worse. I do think, and like I know I say this all the time, Devin gonna lock in, but I really think that loss or whatever you want to call it with the little Ryan situation, I do think it put him in a different mindset, and I think a part of him probably needed that to really lock back in. So I think we're probably about to see the best version of Devin Haney, aside from that Regis fight. So I do think it's going to be a masterclass. It's going to be a dominating performance. And I do think we're going to see Devin Haney with a majority decision.
Now, the one thing I've always doubted with Devin Haney was because in the Lomachenko fight, he started showing weaknesses. But to me, he never cleaned them up. The Ryan Garcia fight, he showed those same weaknesses. The question is he going to clean it up this second time around? That is my question. And I'm curious about it because he's had a year to figure it out. And as smart as Devin Haney is, I assume he could figure it out in a year. I would like to think Devin Haney could fix those weaknesses within a year. Now the question I have for you is this. So obviously, as of right now, Jose Ramirez is not on the level of Ryan Garcia. I think you can agree with that. I think I can agree with that. Unless I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But here's my question. You didn't like how Devin Haney stood in there and banged in the pocket with Ryan Garcia. That I understand. So here's my question. There were certain guys early in his career that Devin Haney would fight and he would stay on the inside. He would bang with them. So my question is this: Jose Ramirez not being the prime Jose Ramirez no more. Do you think he can test banging in the pocket with Jose Ramirez?
No, and he shouldn't risk it either. Because that would be proving the point that you didn't learn from Lomachenko. You didn't learn from Ryan Garcia. What he needs to do, this whole Lomachenko, Ryan Garcia, what this should have taught Devin Haney is this: you fight your fight. Don't worry about what people on Twitter say. Don't worry about what people in the crowd say. You're in there to win, not them, not the people on Twitter. And not only that too, but you need this win because this is going to dictate how this whole Ryan Garcia situation really is. So you really got to be on your P's and Q's. Look, I don't care if the fighter got 0 wins, 284 losses and all of them is by KO. Any man with 2 hands that you stay in the pocket with has a chance to knock you out because at the end of the day, it's a fight. So I don't care if it's Homer Simpson, Ryan Garcia. I don't care if it's Rolly. I don't care if it's Adrian Broner. I don't care if it's your nearest crackhead down the road. Don't stand in the pocket. That's not your fight. Don't do that. So no, I wouldn't recommend him to do it no matter who it is. Fight your fight and win.
I don't want to see Devin Haney test it. I really don't. But overall, I mean, these two are going to be fighting in Times Square May 2nd, and it's going to be a good event. It's going to be a great event. Shout out again to Riyadh Season, Ring Magazine, Turkey Al Sheikh, all those good things, all those good people. Shout out to them for making these great fights happen, having this great event happen. And actually, I heard that you could watch this fight for free if you were there in Times Square, which is insane because it's going to be in the middle of Times Square. I don't know how they're going to handle that. I really don't. That's going to be a sight to see in itself. But Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez is happening. And look, if Devin Haney beats him, it's another champ on his resume. And I know what people are going to say because I've said it many times in this podcast. Jose Ramirez is past his prime, so it don't count. Look, whenever you have a champion on your resume, it counts, okay? Regardless of whatever people want to say. But to me, this fight's tailor-made for Devin Haney. I do think this is a fight to get Devin Haney back on the win column, and obviously they've said it, they've admitted it. Even Ryan Garcia has admitted it, Devin Haney has admitted it. These fights that they are having, right after these fights, the next fight to be made is Haney and Ryan too. It's just that simple, there's not another fight you can make. So, with that being said, it's time for us to wrap up. Now, you know what? I usually, again, close out the episodes, but special guest, former co-host of The Puncher's Point, he knows how to do it. Breezy, wrap us up.
Y'all know what the deal is. Make sure your mama tune in, your girlfriends, your pastors, your librarians, everything. Because The Puncher's Point is live and acting. My boy Mario still cooking. Even though I'm not here, he's still doing his thing, holding it down. So y'all give him respect. Y'all give him his likes up. Get his subscribers up. And you make sure y'all interact in the comments.
I want people to understand that when I first started this podcast, it wasn't just me; it was Breezy as well. You know, Breezy was with me when we got our first 300, and I do want to say thank you, you know, for everything he's done with the podcast. He put in a lot of time, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, you know, and there were a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of nights we were both miserable, but he stuck with it. He put in the work, and even though he's not an official co-host of the Puncher's Point, I do want Breezy to know you're welcome back anytime, man. Honestly, fans love you. We would love to have you back. That's my Shannon Sharp. I'm the Skip Bayless. The only difference is I'm willing to, you know, I'm willing to apologize when I'm wrong. I'm willing to not carry grudges, unlike some people. So overall, Breezy, I appreciate you for hopping on this episode. I do want you to know you're welcome back anytime, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Last but not least, Breezy, finish wrapping us up.
Y'all know what the deal is. Get his lights up. And like I said, it's the Puncher's Point. He's live and he's active. So make sure y'all stay on point with the Puncher's Point. Like it up.